It's Thursday today.
It certainly is. Welcome back, everybody, to Two Girls, One Pod. I'm Angie. This is Yvie. I'm recording on Gadigal land. Where are you recording from?
Wurundjeri land. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful, bloody beautiful. You know what I've been noticing? Well, you know what I've always noticed? I've always noticed that, you know, when something happens in the media, the difference in the way it is received and responded to from, let's say, a woman to a man. I'm not going to use the
difference,
example,
especially in this country.
This country is the worst for hating women. The internalized misogyny, the tall poppy syndrome. As soon as you're doing
misogyny,
it is just next level. I don't want to use the example I'm thinking of, but there's two similar kind of examples, and one gets like its own bloody show, and the other gets threatened things. And it's just it's ridiculous. But one in particular that I wanted to touch on is the Finland's Prime Minister, Sanna Marin. Did I say that right? Yeah! Sanna Marin. She made international headlines a few weeks ago when a video of her partying in a nightclub was leaked. Soon after, a photo emerged of the Prime Minister's influencer female friends kissing while lifting their shirts up, covering their breasts with a Finland sign that Marin uses at her desk. Like, that's what her friends did. Like, who cares, number one? Marin had to do a drug test. She obviously passed.
She passed that drug test, and she did do that drug test on one of the opposition party's insistence. Like, it was a man, of course, in Parliament that was outraged that she'd been dancing in her own home, I do believe. It was a party in her home or her friend's home, and it was up on Instagram, and they were just dancing. Sounds like Footloose. They were just dancing. And he said she needs to do a drug test because this is really unbecoming of a Prime Minister. It's like, dude, it's not outlawed to dance, and Prime Ministers dance badly all the time. Was he angry that she danced well, maybe?
Maybe.
Or that she was having fun and he doesn't have fun and he has no friends. But she did do that drug test. She actually put her hand up and said, I'll do a drug test. I've got nothing to hide. She did the drug test and it came back completely drug-free. So he can stick that up in his wazoo.
Stick that up your pipe and smoke it.
That's a very conservative, misogynistic thing. Like, if that was a bloke Prime Minister, that would not have been asked. Like, Justin Trudeau, he's a very young Prime Minister, just like Sanna, and he gets absolutely revered for anything he does. He took his shirt off to get his vaccine done and everyone was swooning. Like, why does she not get given the same stuff?
That's right. So is he the premier of... Are you talking about him?
The Prime Minister of Canada. Do you know Canada?
Yeah, I've heard of it. And there was that other bloke that got his shirt off for something, and he was photographed topless, and everybody was like, what a Greek god. But then Marion, what's her name? Was her name Marion? Marin?
Sanna Marin.
Sanna, she was faced with criticism when she did that magazine with a blazer, you know, she had the blazer with no shirt. And she looks beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, no bra.
And she was
That's fashion.
People were criticising her, saying it's inappropriate.
Yes.
But then you can have old mate Bob Hawke back in the day just chugging down beers.
Yeah.
And we know him still to this day as an absolute Aussie icon, one of the best Prime Ministers we've ever had. But God forbid if we saw Julia Gillard sculling back some bloody Cardinals, you bunch of shunts, it would have been everywhere that she's a drunk witch or that she's...
went through to ScoMo sculled a beer at the cricket late, like this year. If we saw Julia doing that, most Prime Ministers have done it, even to the point where our own current Prime Minister, Albo, was at a Gang of Youths concert at the Enmore Theatre last week, and someone
chugging.
spotted him, so they were like, down it, and he did, and he's a legend. This woman parties with her friends, dances with her friends, doesn't take any drugs, and she's being pulled over the coals. Like, piss off. There was, one thing she did. She's been criticised for attending a nightclub and leaving her work phone at home. Yeah, you know what? Don't do that, Sanna. Take your bloody work phone with you. We all sometimes have to have two phones on us. So, you're pretty important. So make sure you don't forget your bloody mobile phone. I think that's a fine criticism. Because that is, she's heading a country, and it turned out that her advisor had COVID.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stick. But I think that...
So go after that, but don't go after someone that's having a good time.
Don't go after somebody who's having a dance and having a drink. At the end of the day, these people are still human beings. Yes, they've got countries to run, but everybody makes mistakes. Leaving your phone is something that and everybody would do. And let's not even get started. Yeah, she left her phone at home and she posed with her, if she dressed too masculine, people would be like, oh, oh God, she's a mole, she's this, she's that. If she dresses quite feminine, then they're like, oh, that's so inappropriate. There's really no winning for women, I feel. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And it is such a shame because it just takes away from all her amazing work. And then we've got things like, we'll focus on her and her drinking and her friends pashing in a club, but we'll hardly touch on the fact all the horrendous things bloody Trump did, and he led the country in America forever. If people, again, can't see the problem, then you are the problem. And you can come back and back and back with all these things that women do now, but it's not. It's just not the same. It's not the same as her having a shirt on with no bra underneath and getting drunk in a club is not the same as saying you can grab a woman's pussy or you can, have loads of claims against you that you've raped, or even saying a man is a champion for sculling beers but she can't be out with her friends getting drunk. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Ask yourself, if you judge her, ask yourself, I think, why is a man allowed to do it and a woman isn't? That's in my opinion, in my humble opinion. I also went down a vortex of that whole Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake thing. Oh my God. That to me is so next level. When that happened in 2002, now if this happened, we would be fine because there's so many songs now where women are half naked singing about their pussies and we're singing it as well and going off, and it's happening at all the concerts and openings of shows or whatever, or football games or whatever they carry on about over there. But that one was a perfect example. So for those of you who don't know, in 2002, Justin Timberlake was the opening act for... what's that, Super Bowl?
Yeah, and she was actually the opening act and had him come on right at the end in her last song to do a duet with him.
Yeah, and then
as a special guest.
And then are you sure, or is it the other way around?
No, it was her. It was her halftime Super Bowl. It was a really big thing. There's a great documentary that's just come out about it.
Yeah, no, I have read about that. I haven't watched it yet, though. Anyway,
you'd love it. It's so good.
She was doing her dancing moment, and then he pulled off her top, and you saw her boob, for those of you, and it was had diamantes on it, and people lost all of their minds. She went on to pretty much get blacklisted and cancelled for a long time, and he won 5 awards for Grammys for his album that exact year or the year after, and he was invited to whatever it was, the Arias. I get mixed up with all the shows, and she wasn't, and it was just horrible how he just went up and above, and she was just pretty much shunned. And it's why?
He really distanced himself from her after that happened. When you watch the documentary, you'll see his response immediately as they come off stage, her response and his response.
Yeah.
And he laughed about it.
Yeah, I saw that.
She was mortified.
She cried.
And then he went on to pretty much distance himself in any way possible. And he did. He really succeeded in distancing himself, and the whole public just blamed her. It was just her. It was her boob. It was her nipplegate. And he was just a victim in all of it. And he went on to win so many awards after that and become, the man that we know today. And, 20 years now it's been, but just like I think a year ago or 2 years ago when her documentary came out, he's apologised for it. But Britney's also had a go at him because he also, threw her under the bus during that time when they broke up, insinuating that she was a cheater of him, did that song Cry Me a River, made the video with a girl that looked exactly like her from behind, let the entire public think that she was a homewrecker and that she'd broken his heart, and she was going into a conservatorship at the time, and he absolutely left her out to dry, and she did not have the right of reply, and she's only now just had the right of reply, and he's come out and said sorry. She's forgiven him because that's what women do. We are the keeper of men's secrets, and we just let them get away with this crap all the time. Janet's forgiven him as well.
Yeah.
I think stop forgiving these men. But
if you don't forgive them, it's like you're drinking the poison and expecting them to die. I think you forgive them not for them, you forgive them for yourself, because it feels so much nicer to not hate somebody and hold that kind of resentment in your heart. And it goes to show that we're so much more evolved and ready when we are the ones that will always forgive. I don't want to be like those types of men where I'm bitter and I use people to leverage my career. I don't want to be like that. I would rather be the better person actually and forgive, because he just looks like, in my eyes, a real dickhead. His apology was lovely, and as humans, all we can do is apologize and learn from our mistakes. We've all been a part of patriarchal bullshit, being systematically racist. Like, we've all been a part of that. As soon as you can acknowledge that and move forward, the better. But if you're going to there's a difference though with him. It's annoying because I feel like if he didn't get called out, he never would have apologised. It's only because it was trendy that he's doing it. I do get that. And his apology was very much like, I understand that I fell short in these moments, and in many other he has benefited from a system that condones misogyny and racism. I'm glad he said that, because he is a straight white man at the end of the day. So he's benefited his entire life, and he threw a black woman under the bus and his ex-partner. But what he did to Janet, I think, was laced in misogyny and racism for sure. And he wouldn't have known that, because why would he know? He was benefiting from it for ages. And he was been having all the big wigs slapping his back, being like, yeah, champ, you got away with that one. Sick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my goodness. But I think a little bit too little too late as far as the apology goes. Lovely to have an apology. Thank you for that, JT. But would you have apologised if you hadn't?
Not.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's lovely to have that apology, but it's like so many times we forgive and we just they just keep doing it.
Well, as the cause once said, you're forgiven, but you're not forgotten. And we will never forget that, Justin Timberlake. We know what you did to Britney, and we know what you did to Janet. Yep. So, it's all well and good to say an apology, but we are forgetting about one other little thing he did, how he joked about taking Britney's virginity. I mean, that's not funny, is it? He was such a boys' club dude, wasn't he?
It was out to impress men and bang as many bitches as he could.
And he had the slimiest little curly tresses. Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, he's not for us physically or, attractiveness. We were never attracted to him and, but a lot of women probably wouldn't have been had he not been this superstar as well. Like, it's quite amazing how many men, we talk about this all the time, how many men you can be attracted to just simply because they're famous. They sing a sexy song or, I don't know. I've never really gotten on the JT bandwagon. I think he's very talented. And let's not also forget what he did to JC, his own bandmate. Not that he did it directly, but he benefited from being in a record company that the executives chose JT instead of JC and gave JC a really shit song, didn't promote it, didn't do a great video clip, and put all their money and promotion into and marketing into JT, who made him the star that he is today. It's like, who do they choose? Who do they want to be the hero here? You know, you can work as hard as you want, but if you're not that one chosen man, or, you know, mostly man, then you know, let's not say that he's this fantastic breakout star and did it all on his own. He certainly didn't. And he certainly hasn't come out and said, JC got a bad rap. He's not the kind of man that comes out and says, I took advantage of everything. Who wouldn't take advantage of everything when you offered everything on a plate? But,
yeah, well, that's it. You just throw your dick around, don't you, until movements like this happen where everybody's getting called out and then you go, I'm sorry. But again, I think it is important for people like Janet and Brittany to forgive for themselves, not to forgive him as a person, because he's...
I think it would be good for young artists to see this kind of thing and to maybe have people like women like Janet and Brittany, Madonna, Cher, you know, all of these women who fought so incredibly hard to get where they are today, to be mentoring young artists, especially women who, you know, do get thrown under the bus quite a lot by men who maybe don't mean it at the time, but they certainly turn a blind eye.
And it's funny because there's one particular artist that I want to talk about who has been amazing to the younger upcoming artists, and also has copped it from the older generations that never really held space for her, kind of always, you know, when she first came in, they did laugh, but she tried harder than anyone. That's Lady Gaga. She did an interview in 2009 where she shut down the question. It goes around on Instagram all the time. It's so iconic. And the guy says, are you scared that your provocative lyrics and sexual references would overshadow her talent? And her response is iconic, and she shuts him down and she goes, I'm not scared. Are you scared? You see, if I was a guy and I was sitting here with a cigarette in my hands, grabbing my crotch, talking about how I make music because I like fast cars and fucking girls, you'd call me a rock star. And it's so true. But she goes, when I do it in my music and videos and music videos, because I'm a female and I make pop music, you're judgmental and say it's distracting. She goes, I'm just a rock star. And it's so true.
Said.
And she was so young when she said it. And people before her have actually not been that supportive. And you'll see other videos on Instagram where she goes up to like One Direction and she'll be like, when they were getting booed, and she'll be like, don't you boo them. Like, 'cause she knew what it felt like for everybody to take the piss out of her and not give her the space to shine. But she hasn't turned bitter and formed a boys club. You know how a lot of women are like, go with the guys because it's better if you're part of the boys club because then you don't get picked on as well. She's just always been her, and she doesn't give a fuck if you don't like her. She's
and
you
know who else
icon.
has been like that? Yes, she absolutely is. You know who else is like that? We've already discussed her. Is Brittany. Brittany's never gone out of her way to not be herself. She's never formed an alliance with anyone. She's so, you know, honest and vulnerable. And that Gaga interview really reminds me of that Diane Sawyer interview that was so atrocious with Brittany. Do you remember? And she just kept trying to make her feel so incredibly bad about losing her virginity when she said she wasn't going to, doing all these things. She actually said to her, what do you think about the children who are watching your sexual dances and, you know, listening to the songs that you do and, you know, sexualizing all these? And she said, why am I looking after these children? These are not my children. She says, like, that's misquoting her, but do you remember that?
Yeah. And
like, she just gave it straight back to her and said, why is this my problem? And why would you, she didn't say this, but why have I never ever seen that asked of a man?
It's so, we sexualize it and we fantasize over men that carry on like that. But when women do it, we're like, and women do it the worst to other women.
Yeah.
We go,
it's
yuck,
awful.
she's a slut, or she's this, or it's so sad.
Yeah, it's got to go. It's got to go.
It is going
It's gotta go.
slowly, I feel.
Yeah, and the more we talk, because we keep talking about it, the world, I mean, not you and I, we talk about it all the time.
We do.
But the world, we're talking about these things. We're understanding. We're explaining things to young children now that they're being educated. Like my friend has 2 daughters and we have this amazing... Oh, you met them. Remember we had the Greek dinner with my friend Rick's daughters?
Yeah.
And they are so great. We have these great conversations about feminism and we talk about all sorts of things. They're so open and they're so, Rick and his ex-wife, they're raising these girls to be honestly expecting to live in a world where they are afforded the exact same rights as anyone else in the world, despite their gender. And I just think that's wonderful because, that's a ripple effect,
Yeah.
They're talking about that with kids at school and that's what we've got to do.
Yeah, this next generation of people are going to be something else. They're not going to be laced with all this isms. I'm looking forward to that.
Going back to Sanna Marin, who you started with in this, I think we have to really start remembering that we're living in a world now that's modern and the way people rule is going to be much more progressive than it once was. The conservative way of looking at the world has got to go and, we're going to start having a lot younger leaders and they are just normal people who are living normal lives and we're getting to see, our politicians a lot more than we ever did in the past, due to social media. So I think we need to start affording a little bit more leeway and allow them to be the people that, we relate to and are happy to have lead us. And I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with people like Jacinda Ardern and, Sanna Marin and Justin Trudeau and these wonderful young leaders who are going to, change the world.
Oh, you know what? Ain't that the truth? Go ahead, girl. I absolutely agree with you. I think we're going to start seeing more and more of it. Out with the old, in with the new.
People like Greta Thunberg and Malala ruling the world when they're old enough too. How wonderful.
All right, well, that's us done for this week, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Just a little deep dive into the magical minds of Angela, Bernice, Ken and Yvie Justice Joe.
Yes. What a lovely, lovely place to be.
Oh, God, I wouldn't want to spend too much time in this one, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, I can't get out. Please head to Apple Podcasts and rate and review the show. You can get in touch with us directly by emailing the podcast at ttgirls@novaentertainment.com.au. Remember, you can always slide into Angie's DMs. Goodbye.
Yes, please do. And also, have the day that you deserve.